It's 2018. Can you believe it? Well, as you're joining online, I just want to say this is the first 6 a.m. Coffee with Shanda of the year. I'm so excited to be here with you, and I'm so excited to discuss today's topic, which is really about if you want to grow your happiness level and you want to grow your business, you absolutely have to establish more gratitude. And this sounds really funny, but you actually have to lower your expectations of what you're going to get out of anything in life. So here's what I mean. Recently I was, well, a couple things. I've been reading a couple great books that have been influencing my mind, which I'll do some reviews on those books coming up here in Coffee with Shanda's, not today, but over the next couple weeks, because I think a good book influences your mind and really helps you stay on focus. However, a lot of times what happens is somebody will refer a great book to you, or refer a great coach to you, or will refer something that kind of dangles the carrot that has you get off track on what you're actually trying to create. If you want to have an extraordinary 2018, you have to become obsessed with what it is that you're wanting to create. So let me give you an example on how a great coach or a great book can fall flat in your life if you don't know how to run your life properly, or you don't know how to run your brain properly. And here's what I mean by this. Do you know how hard it is for me to sometimes watch, like for instance, we're actually going to start podcasting, and we're using an incredible company that is responsible for the top people getting their hits off of their podcast. But do you know, I have been watching my friends' podcast for so many years, and there's like always that pull when you go for dinner with them. They're like, Shanda, you got a podcast, you got a podcast, you got a podcast. And it's like, yeah, but if I add another thing to my plate, then the growth of the company, the happiness of my life will not be there. Now, here's what I mean. When you spread yourself too thin, when you get excited about somebody else creating some sort of an extraordinary event or result in their life, and all of a sudden you think you're going to like turn on a membership site and never work again, or get a PR company and you're going to be on Oprah, or because that PR company got them on Oprah, or you're going to start a podcast, you're going to just crush it. I mean, what happens is you tend to take your eye off the ball that you're working on for this year. So let me backtrack for a second. What are you working on getting ahead in 2018? Right? Like, what are you looking on getting ahead in 2018? For the last, really, I would say a year and a half to 2 years, really 2 years, I focused on one thing, which was traffic. I wanted to figure out how to get more traffic than I could possibly use. And it took a lot of trial and error. It took a lot of, licking my paws, getting off the ground, because it was very expensive. And I went through 3 different traffic teams. Which were not cheap. We're talking about $7,000 to $10,000 a month on a traffic team. Plus I paid for traffic on top of that. And I went through all those moments of self-doubt, like, am I going to get this done? It feels like it's never going to get done. 2 years is a long time to work on one goal, right? 2 years is a long time to work on one thing in your relationship. 2 years is a long time to work on something if you can't figure out your fitness, right? So hopefully you're tracking with me right now. Often what I find is that the only thing that I say is probably one of there's 2 things that will kill an entrepreneur's dream. One is self-doubt. The other is not completing what they start. And so if you get distracted and trying to, oh my God, I need to podcast because JJ's podcasting, or I need to, do live events because that's what Suzanne says, or I need to, grow an audience and an email list because that's what Shanda says. But then you look in your own life, because you know what you need in your business, right? You know what you need in your life. If you have a shortage of buyers, then you need an email list. That's the cheapest, most effective way to be able to grow a business. If you already have an email list and you're really good with that email list, but you're like, I want to reach a broader audience, and I want to be able to get up and speak, then you know that you're getting a calling on your heart to speak, and then there you go. You start moving towards speaking. Now, Now, you might think that this might even get confusing, and I guarantee you've been confused by this. I had a calling to speak on stages for literally, I'm not kidding you, 3 years before I ever did it. In fact, I hired Suzanne Evans, who's a great friend of mine, to only learn how to do a live event. And it took me 2 years of coaching fees with her before I ever even did my first live event. So now this brings me back to, I hate the word lowering your expectations, but stop putting your results and your success in somebody else's hands. Stop putting it in the hands of Entrepreneur Magazine, but read it. Stop putting it in the hands of, oh my God, I need to be on Oprah, but watch it if you're inspired. Stop thinking that when your friend says you got to read a book, like I had this huge quest to walk with God closer. If you've been following me at all, you know that I've been reading scripture like crazy for the last couple of years, studying it. I have somebody praying on my team, just totally enveloped in that desire. Now, when somebody would say, oh, you got to go read this, let's say podcasting book because you're going to start podcasting. I'm like, no, the number one priority on my heart is to walk with God. And so everything I read, like the novels and the books, were only about walking with God, learning how to pray better, learning how to listen to the voice of the Lord, all of those things, right? And so what is it for you? What's the thing for 2018 that's like, oh my gosh, I just feel this calling on my heart? Not the 3 callings on your heart. What's the one? What's the theme for this year? The one that's really calling you forward. It could be, I really want to be able to, crack 6 figures a month in my business. Okay, so here's why I said that. Dream big. Dream big. So I've learned through working with this psychologist recently that you've got to only have small wins throughout the week and the month to be able to have your body recalibrate to not sabotage your results and pull yourself back, which I see this all the time. I will grow my clients and they'll hit 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 a month, and then they have a hard time hitting it again. And what they often do is they start to get that distracted feeling, you know what, I don't really want to do this anymore. I feel a calling to do this now. And I understand that feeling. Trust me, I get those feelings too. I mean, we're literally doing a big growth in hardcore. And I said, for me to grow this company and stay on this one thing, right? Stay on this one thing of growing hardcore in the direction that we're growing it and the traction. It's taken me, I'm telling you, it's taken me 7 years to get good traction in one thing. I'm not kidding you. 7 years of great traction in the marketplace, of building email lists, and there's so many other things that I do, like events. And my point in sharing that with you is it's taken me 7 years to get there. And now I'm going to start podcasting. And I'm not saying that wouldn't have benefited me to start podcasting earlier, but if I did, I wouldn't have the revenue that I have today. I just wouldn't, okay? Unless I would have hired more furiously. So the caveat to growing quickly and doing a lot of things at the same time is hiring very good people to come into your company and run those divisions. So you've got 2 choices. You can bootstrap your company to success and live in happiness. And that is, you have to deal with the feelings of boredom. You have to deal with the feelings of not feeling attached to what you're teaching, you're selling, things like that. And you have to go deeper in yourself and find a way to make it creative, find a way to make it entertaining, find a way to, one thing that works for me is I sit down, I think about, wow, what I'm doing is really creating a lot of meaning for people. So get connected to the deeper meaning of why you're selling real estate, why you're teaching meditation, why you're teaching that weight loss program again, right? And get over yourself and you find the things that makes that interesting to you. Because if you can stay on the same thing for 7, 10, 20 years, I mean, look at the mega churches of the world, the Joel Osteens, the Oprahs. I mean, Oprah Oprah stayed in the same thing for many, many years until she probably, I don't know this for sure, but she probably felt the calling to start her own network for a very long time. Not, I felt it this year, and then I'm going to drop everything I've been doing and start something new, which means reinventing and starting at ground zero again. It's evolving what you've been doing in the same area for a long period of time, which requires you to become masterful, at really owning your own emotions and your own results. So stop putting all your results in your coaches. Stop putting them in the books. Stop putting them in the shiny objects of chasing money to be able to get that result, and start owning your path. Start owning your path for 2018. So what is the major calling? It's been on your heart for a long time, right? Like I wanted to be a mom at 25. I wanted to find my husband at 25. But honestly, it wasn't a priority. I dated a lot of really great men, but it wasn't a priority for me to be flexible in a relationship. It wasn't a priority for me to be, to give up things, not really give up things, but, you know, merge things that were important to me and make space for someone else. You know what I mean? Like you don't do the things in your life that you need to do until it's a priority. So let's not get distracted on all the callings of your life, all the callings. Let's take 2018 and go, what is the major calling that's coming up for you that's been on your heart probably for a couple of years, that should be the priority for this year? And then whatever coach you're working with, you get to really ask them and talk to them and really work with them to be able to get that calling out of you into the world. Do not do something because you see somebody else doing it and it's successful. Most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time I've found that if you have a great coach, there's lots of them out there, right? There's a good handful of really extraordinary coaches. Make sure your coach is way ahead of you. Please don't hire somebody to teach you how to podcast that isn't making millions and millions of dollars. Even if they're better at podcasting than you, I just ask you, if you are driven, to pick a coach that is extraordinary. Because most of the reason why you're going to be successful is not the formula, it's actually the mindset. It's not necessarily, most of the formulas can be taught in 30 to 90 days. But notice, remember, it took me 2 years to work with a coach to do my live event. In the process, I was getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. And so make sure you manage your mind, not say, I could have said, oh, I still haven't gotten to doing my event. I got to go find another coach. But that's not the way to do it. If you have a good coach, you get from them what you actually ask and demand from them. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you. A coach that's just getting started, and I coach a lot of them. And if that's you, awesome. You will turn yourself inside out to chase and make somebody successful that it's not even on their priority list. The calling is there, but the calling is not a priority for them yet. A coach that's already walked the journey, the path for a long period of time, is not going to chase somebody to get it to be a priority for them. They're going to stand back, and I can always tell you when someone's going to be successful. They usually come to me because they're either so mad about something, and that's how they express their passion. And often it'll be a blame on me or the company or something like that. And that's totally okay because I see it, right? Like I can see them. I have clients like Jess and just amazing clients that are incredibly loyal and incredible clients of ours that we got connected through them wanting to fight, right? And they're wanting to fight for their future is what they're wanting to fight for. And it's expressed that way. And then through that moment, we get connected. And then they're open for a breakthrough, and then they skyrocket, right? Like Jess ended up being on my stage at the Zone event. And I really think she has huge potential to be a multi-millionaire, right? And so I believe that if you're an entrepreneur, you have a drive. You have a drive that's very special. Your goal in life is not to be an ordinary person. That's why you've probably beat yourself up in the past. That's why you have standards for yourself that are so high that you often probably are even hard on some of the people in your life, because you just have a drive and you see things differently. And I don't want you to shut down that drive, because if you shut down that drive, you miss out on the growth. But I want you to be strategic in 2018 and say, who's your coach? Who's your mentor? If you don't have one, go find one. Find a great one. And then hold on to them for a very long period of time. And when you go through the bumps and the journeys and the valleys where you're not feeling connected or you're feeling bored, or, make sure that you don't run after that shiny object and think that you need to shift gears to be able to succeed in life. You need to be responsible for your journey. You need to be responsible for your journey. So make sure you find somebody who is way ahead of you and stay with them for a long period of time, because most of the game is the mindset. Most of it. I mean, my friend Bedros Kaluni will tell you this. I'm pretty positive that Sarah Blakely would tell you this based on the fact that I've spent some time with her. And it's one of the biggest things she works on is her mindset as she's growing Spanx. It's always been she's always put herself in uncomfortable situations to be able to just stretch herself. And what I find is that when we get angry, frustrated, or blaming or judgmental, it's often because we're in an uncomfortable situation that instead of putting our head and being responsible for getting through this moment and getting what you need, you actually already have everything within you to be able to accomplish whatever calling was put on your heart. You just do. You just do. A coach or a mentor is there to help, and communities are there to help put some small tweaks in place to have things work. And what I think often gets mistaken in the world and in the marketplace, especially in business growth, is that somehow you think that a podcast or a live event or learning how to do your signature talk or these things are going to be it. They're going to be it. That's going to be the tipping point to all of your happiness coming true and all the money just piling in the door. And that's not what it is. What it is constant tweaks inside your brain to think past the way that you show up in every situation now. Whatever's rubbing in your life right now that's hard, that must stop rubbing for you to go to the next level, because everything is a domino effect and completely interconnected. My psychologist says that energy can never be destroyed. And if you feel a way, have you ever noticed this, when you feel kind of off or you feel like you don't really like somebody, they typically don't really like you either. Or you figure that you've got a problem with a client and they're driving you crazy. Well, you're probably driving them crazy. Energy cannot be destroyed. And so the way that you run yours inside your brain, which really your thoughts are what controls all of your actions, the way that you run this body of yours and the way that you think is so important. So please be responsible for your own results, and don't put your responsibility on the shoulders of your coaches, the books, or another thing or tactic you're going to do inside your business to succeed. What has been the calling on your heart for the last 2 years or so that now feels like it's a priority for 2018? And then whoever you're working with, let's come up with the plan for you to execute that. And that plan may be 2018, or that plan may be 2020. But I will tell you, everything you do this year, moving towards that bigger vision happening, will feel a lot more fulfilled versus you just working tasks, which are hard, and hoping that you'll just get something like more money. Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that today. God bless you guys. Coffee with Shanda will be on now, moving forward Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. I am so excited to be here with you. We are going to we're creating a survey right now. Not really a survey. It's actually a comment box right now for you to actually ask me questions and for me to fuel me over the next 12 months or 6 months or 4 months, however it ends up being, on the content for Coffee with Shanda. So please know that you have a voice in my world, and I want to serve you, and I really want to be as useful as possible. So hearing from you is really important. Secondly, would you do me a favor? We just started a YouTube channel, and I put the link in the description area. If you could go ahead and just go subscribe to the YouTube channel, I would really appreciate that. I'd love to see those numbers jump so that I can continue to put out content there that's nowhere else as well. All right, you guys, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Please take a moment and think about what we talked about today, the calling that's been on your heart for a while. That's your theme for 2018. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.